Federal Agriculture Minister Lawrence Macaulay thinks that a provincial exemption on farm fuel should be enough for you polluting farmers to survive the carbon tax. And moreover, you need to get with the global program, even if it means going out of business. Macaulay had a terrible interview with Real Agriculture, and to his credit, the interviewer, who happens to be a farmer, Kelvin Hepner, did an amazing job taking Macaulay to task, asking tough questions that Macaulay wasn't expecting. Now, they were questions about Trudeau's unilaterally imposed carbon tax and the effect it would have on agriculture. Let me set this up for you. The Saskatchewan government estimates that the new nationwide carbon tax will cost the average small family farm around $10,000 per year, and larger but still often family-run operations upwards of $100,000 per year. Now, some of this cost will be passed on to the consumer, you and I, making food more expensive, and much of the cost will be grabbed directly from farmers' pockets. With CETA falling apart, beef commodity prices plummeting, and an early snowfall devastating the harvest here in the prairies, farmers are already struggling to get by. They can't afford this. In the interview, Macaulay calls carbon pollution, and he says only on-the-farm fuel should be exempt. Now, what does that mean for rail fuel, fertilizer, cattle haulers, grain dryers, electricity for barns and machine shops, heating in the same barns and machine shops? Well, that's all still taxed under this plan. And that makes Canada, a country that exports over half the food grown here, instantly non-competitive on the global marketplace. So Hepner pushed Macaulay on that issue. Just listen.
We have countries, big competitors like the U.S. that aren't looking at carbon pricing. How do you view Canada competing against them in that kind of in that scenario as it looks to be playing out?
Well, as you know, there was a deal signed in Paris, but I'm not the environment minister. But as you know, it's the direction the world is going in. Not only this country, but the world seems to realize that we have to have a place to live, but we want it done fairly. And what we have to do is to make sure that less usage of fossil fuels. If we continue on the path we're on, it just won't work.
God help us, Macaulay thinks the world is moving in the direction of carbon pricing. The truth is, neither U.S. presidential candidate, our largest trading partner, is campaigning on a carbon tax. Even progressive France, where the Paris Treaty that led to Canada's awful carbon tax was born last year, is backing away from carbon pricing. Australia has repealed their carbon tax altogether. So I'm not sure what world Lawrence Macaulay lives on, but it isn't this one. The world is moving away from carbon taxes for the same reasons Canada should. The human cost of it all is just too high. Any agriculture minister that advocates moving away from fossil fuels must have some shares in a mule or an oxen farm out there somewhere. Any farmer with a tractor down for repairs understands how important fossil fuels are to increasing their yields and feeding more people. What kind of agriculture minister thinks farmers should earn less and work harder than they already do? Well, a liberal one does. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. The cost of Justin Trudeau's carbon tax is too high for farmers and it's too high for consumers. Go to stopthecarbontax.com and sign our petition.